8.5 years old, I got literally, when I say deathly sick, I mean deathly sick. Laying there and I'm in great pain. And then all of a sudden, the body was quiet. There was no more aches, pains. There was no more breath, no heartbeat, no pulse. I feel a lightness in my body. I also feel hugged. I feel loved. Imagine if you're in a womb of a mother that really wanted you to be born, that warmth and comfort, except it's not dark, it's slow light, being rebirthed into another place. Normally you talk to people and they'll say, well, then I had a past review of my life and saw the things I was doing right, wrong. I don't get a review of what I've done. I get a forward look at what awaits me. The mumps was like the starter of problems. If you didn't treat mumps, it progressed from that to strep throat to lung infections to kidneys. It would just cascade through your whole body. By the time I was finally taken to the doctors, the doctor told my parents, my stepdad and my mom, it looks like it's too late. And I'm hearing this. I'm strapped on a gurney, right? It's probably too late, that I'm in earshot. Hey, I can hear this, right? So I was taken into isolation because it's contagious. And then they worked on my lungs that very night. About an hour later, they stuck these big, huge needles in my back. They cleared some fluid from my lungs so I could breathe a little. But I was really weak, and I wasn't doing well at all. And they got through. Nobody held my hand. Nobody said, "Are you okay, kid?" 8.5 years old. I mean, all alone. And then just put me in a bed, turned the lights off, and left me. And I'm alone in the dark, away from home for the first time in my life, laying there, and I'm in great pain. And then all of a sudden, quiet. The body was quiet. There was no more aches, pains. I feel a lightness in my body, meaning like I'm a feather. I'm just like floating up, and I'm just drifting. I'm ascending. And I also feel hugged. I feel loved. It's beyond words. It's, that source of love is you. It's the divine, and it's all one. And you become that love. And the room starts getting lighter and lighter and lighter. And it was kind of like clouds. It's like you're flying in an airplane and you fly through a bunch of clouds. You look out there and they're all around the airplane. It was just like that. It was like clouds. And then I sense, because I don't have a body to physically look down, I realized that I was whatever this consciousness was. I'm still thinking, if that's the right word. I'm still knowing and being without a body. And so when I say look down, look, quote unquote, I see the body, my child's body below me. And it's, just sitting there all with nothing, terrible looking. And my thought was, even at 8.5 years old, my thought was, thank God that's not me. That's not me. I am this thought, this consciousness. Even at 8.5, I'm going, no, I am this. I'm this love. Normally you talk to people and they'll say, well, then I had a past review of my life and saw the things I was doing right and wrong, and shown options and how I hurt people and help people. Well, at 8.5 was to review, not much. So I don't get a review of what I've done. I get a forward look at what awaits me. Now, how long this was going on in actual Earth time, I have no idea. When I was going through review, it felt like forever. Because I'm watching these things. I'm watching myself in high school. I'm watching myself meet my future wife. I saw President Kennedy getting assassinated. I had no idea who he was. But I saw how it happened. The only difference in my view of that I saw, more than one shooter. It was more than just Oswald. Anyway, so I saw that happen, and I saw all these things happen. I saw myself behind a machine gun in Vietnam in a helicopter, looking at the view and people shooting at me and everything. I saw people blowing up and people getting killed and stuff happening. And I saw my children, and I saw where I was going to live, saw the jobs I had. I saw all this stuff going forward, as it turns out, 50 years. And while this was going on, there was also two numbers. 29 was floating around in the cloud. 29, and then the 2 would flip over and go backwards. And if you take a 2 and you make it backwards, it looks like a 5. So it's like 5. So it was 29, 59, 29, 59. I had no idea what that meant. So I kind of saw it to me going to India eventually. And this thing kind of fades away. I'm on a trip to India when it ends. When I woke up, I was still deathly sick. Not dead, but sick and a lot of pain. And I spent the next 1 year of my life, 1 year, on bed rest, wasn't allowed to get out of bed, couldn't get up and go to the toilet, couldn't get up and go to the shower, couldn't walk around, had to stay in bed, everything had to be, fed, bathed, in bed. And if a year doesn't sound like a long time, picture a year of your life. No school, no television, no smartphones, no dumb phones that are connected landlines, nothing. I look back upon that as a true blessing. People look at me like I'm crazy when I say that. I said, no. At 8.5 years old, I became basically a monk. No distractions, nothing but time for me and my thoughts, or lack of thoughts, if I could get to that state of being. That's why I started making up all these meditation techniques. I started doing things with energy and energizing the body and bringing energy in through the spine and recharging my quote unquote my batteries. I had no idea what I was doing. When I was doing things I thought were healthy. Before I went to the hospital, believe it or not, at 8, I actually read a book called Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda. And in that book, written in 1946, it's still out there, it's still a bestseller. He talks about Babaji's cave. There's a chapter that says Babaji's cave. Babaji's this great avatar. I didn't even know what an avatar was. He reintroduces this ancient technique of meditation called Kriya Yoga. And he reintroduces this to his disciple in this cave. And it was an interesting story. It goes on and on and on about all this stuff. While I'm laying there for that year, I kept thinking, I'm going to go to Babaji's cave. But it was always back in mind, that's what I want to do. So when I got out of the hospital at 9.5 years old, my dog got run over by a car in front of our house. About 40 miles an hour, it smacks this little poodle. And I go out there, and the driver that hit it's all teary-eyed. The guy was upset. He thought he killed my dog. And the dog was flattened. It was just went right on me. It was a daughter. But I remember while I was laying in that hospital for a year, I had learned or taught myself how to gather energy, visualizing, using different techniques, getting this energy in my body. And I thought, don't ask me why, but at 9.5, I'm thinking, well, if I take this energy from the divine, from the source, and I give love and process that energy through my hands, I can help my dog. That was my thought. Why I thought that, I have no idea. Picked up the dog, took it to the hospital in my lap, and when I touched the dog and I did this technique, which I go around the world teaching, and I visualized the energy going through the top of my head and coming down my hands. It was like the dog got electrocuted. It was like, and the dog got up, ran around the house, and lived the rest of his life. Never went to the vet. So, end of story. It was like, I thought, wow, because it was the power of giving child love without question, knowing that there's this divine energy without question, without saying, I wonder if this will work. It was like, no, this is what I'm going to do. Whoa. And that was my first experience with healing somebody outside of myself. So I go into high school. Remember, I had all those visions. It's 3 weeks before the Kennedy assassination. I know the Kennedy assassination is coming, 1963, and I know he's going to go to Texas, and I know in Dallas he's going to get killed. So it was like, I go to my principal. Hey, president's going to get killed in Dallas. Calm down, Bill. Calm down, Bill. Yeah, it's okay. He's got a Secret Service. He's okay. Go back. I said, no, he's really going to get killed. Yeah. Anyway, then he really gets killed, and then people go, how the hell did Bill know? Well, Bill saw it, So and I went to Vietnam, and I know who was going to get shot, who was going to get wounded, who was going to get killed, what helicopters were going to crash, what events were going to unfold. I mean, when you're close to life or death like that every day, your cosmic awareness, your mystical handle on the universe is about the best and strongest it's ever going to be, because you're so close to the veil of death in life. It's just, there's no filters anymore. It's there, you act on it. It saved my life, and I tried to save others. Long stories on that. But, so yeah, it was kind of like a long 5 decades of deja vu. I kept remembering the fact that I wanted to go to India, and I wanted to go to Babaji's cave. So I was 58 and a half, 50 years later, right? And I didn't put the numbers together in my mind to realize as far as the future I saw. That's the end of the rainbow, man. What does that mean, right? I didn't start thinking that until I got there. So I end up in India, and I'm there for several months. And I'm going from ashram and temple and cave with yogis to the Ganges on boat rides and, hiking in the Himalayas, doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And still looking for those answers. Finally found this place where Babaji's cave was at. And we went, me and my friend, and we went to the cave and had a wonderful mystical experience there. On the way back, I'm having a full-blown heart attack. It felt like I had a couple of hands with long fingernails reaching inside my chest, and were taking my heart, were sticking their nails in me and kind of twisting around and, beating it. It was like, holy cow, man, there's something really wrong with my heart. And so we got lost, and I'm standing on a cliff. It's about a 30-foot drop down into a ravine. And all of a sudden, I'm standing there, and I totally pass out. My heart just like exploded. And I tumbled down. The good news is it wasn't a straight cliff. It went down about 10 feet, 12 feet. There was a little couple-foot ledge. And then dropped down and 8 feet or so, and then it'd be another 1 foot or so. Just a couple little outcroppings. So I'd fall, hit the next one, fall, hit it, and land on a boulder. And I'm laying all twisted on this big boulder, this big rock at the bottom. Staring up at the sky, so my eyes are open, but I'm not there. It's like I hit the rock, I'm not there. My body's all twisted, weird shaped. And the pain is gone. I know there's no more breath. I know there's no more pulse. There's no heartbeat. Life has ceased. And I'm going, I've been there before. I'm looking up and I see the clouds above me, right? I'm heading towards the clouds. I look straight up and look. I don't have a body to look from. I don't have eyes to look from. But in this consciousness, I observed my friend standing on the cliff looking down at my body, and I thought, hey, I'm here. Of course they hear me, right? Hey, that's not me down there. That's not me. Trust me. I've been done this before, and it's not me. And so I'm just feeling hugged once again, like I'm in this womb of love. Imagine if you're in a womb of a mother that really wanted you to be born, that warmth and comfort, except it's not dark, it's slow light, right? Kind of a womb of light, being rebirthed into another place. To get poetic there for a minute. But it's, I'm looking down, and all of a sudden I see this very large cobra snake. And when I say large, I mean large. I couldn't see. It came out of grass, and its tail, the rest of the body was in the grass. It went across my ankles and feet and calves, and it was crawling across me. And I had such love towards that snake. It was like, wow, that's love. I love that snake. Why I love that snake? I don't know. I love that snake so much that it was like the snake became paddles, like, from the fireman, right? Clear, jump, like jump start my heart. And it was like, boom. It's like I got a jump start. I take a breath and I jump up and I find myself standing up, and the cobra kind of rolls off my legs onto my shoes. And I'm just in love with it. I'm looking at a wild cobra, and I'm reaching down trying to grab it. And it's slithering through my hands. I'm grabbing it, and I described it in several other videos where I talked about it. I got my hands like this, and I can't touch my fingers or the thumb. I mean, that's around the snake, but that snake in between. The body was that big, and it kept sliding and sliding. It never stopped to bite me or to get mad. It just kept sliding through my hands, sliding through my hands. I chased it through this tall grass, about 2 or 3 feet tall. And I'm grabbing in the grass, and I know where its head's at. And I chase it, and it ends up behind this trickling waterfall. It wasn't much of a waterfall. It was probably 8 or 9 feet tall. It crawled up behind the waterfall. There was a little cave. And it curled this little body up. And then it brings its head up with that tongue going. And those fangs hanging out, right? 4 fangs, right? And it's just looking at me. I'm standing right next to the water, like the water's right here, not just right outside the water. And we're having this staring contest, me and the snake. And there was so much love. So much love. It was like the universe again was still hugging me through this snake. It was just a beautiful experience. So, fighting, we got lost. Anyway, we finally made it back. So, most guys at that point would say, I just survived a heart attack on a cliff. I had a fall. I probably should go to the doctor. Right? Maybe the next day or 2 or a week or 3 or a month or 2 or 3. I finish up my trip. I'm there another couple of months. And then I decided to come home and I don't go in December. I don't go in January. February rolls around. And now I'm just a few weeks away from my 59th birthday. And I get this major heart attack. And I collapse on my floor of my garage. And I come in the house, tell my wife, I'm not feeling too good. I'm just going to drive over to the hospital and get myself checked out. So I finally get see the doctor, and he wants to do surgery. He wants to do this and that. You got 100% blockage here. You got, all this crazy stuff. And I don't, totally out of character. I complained. Because I never complained. Whatever it is supposed to be. It's all right. But I said, this is kind of crazy. I said, but I spent the last 50 years of my life not eating red meat. No booze, no alcohol, no marijuana, no drugs, no acid, no LSD, no wild mushrooms, none of that crazy stuff. Liquor, cigarettes, nothing. I didn't put sugar in anything, right? And I said, I am having a heart attack. And the doctor picks up my chart and he goes, well, Mr. McDowell, he says, I'm looking at your charts here, and all your numbers, he says. I would have bet you'd been dead by 29 with the way your background is. You're almost going to be 59 in a couple of weeks. So 29, 59. Remember the first story? 29, 59. So the real thing was, in my mind, had I not listened to the vision forward, like maybe I should take care of my health, I would have been dead at 29. And now I'm looking at 59 and I'm going, what does that mean? I'm going to be dead at 59. I'll make a long story short, a spoiler alert. I didn't die at 59. I'm still here. And I went on to have a third near-death experience. So the first 2 near-death experiences turned out to be 50 years apart. It looked in all practical purposes, it's the same exact day 50 years later. And this happened in daytime in India, and 50 years before it happened in nighttime in California. So it's possible, it's 12 hours difference or so. So it was possible that maybe it's even down to the hour. But it was like, you had 50 years, here's another possible exit point. But I didn't take it. I still had things I had to do. I had a mission. I knew I had things that I was supposed to say, do, people I was supposed to help, and all that kind of things. So that's the first two near-death experiences. Not your normal, but after you interview a bunch of people, you're going to say, well, what's Bill talking about? There is no normal. Everybody's just different, right? They're all unique, right? But there's certain similarities. The similarities are, everybody talks about this overwhelming, indescribable love. Everybody talks about coming back and you feel like, well, there's a purpose. I'm back here. Why? Each person's different. But it usually has something to do with love and service. So people spend the rest of their lives seeking that feeling of love, and they're never going to find it in the human realm. The closest they're going to get is in meditation, prayer, and service. You don't have to have a near-death experience to have a spiritual experience. You don't have to go through pain. You don't have to go practically die. I mean, through meditation, you can alter states and where you're at and what you're feeling and thinking. You can transcend the body. You can do all kinds of things in meditation. And you can have that same uplifting, loving embrace. But in your search of the divine, that's how you experience it. In the search, it's a byproduct. You feel the love. It's a restless mind. And that's why the meditation is to tame the mind. So you don't meditate because I already have a tame mind, I can do this. And if I have a restless mind, I can't do this, well, then therefore I don't do it. No, the idea is you do it because you have a restless mind, and then it tames the mind. So meditation, there's thousands of people teaching it out there, and there's thousands or millions of methods. It's not the tool that the carpenter uses to build a house. A good carpenter can use cheap tools to build a nice house. Same thing with meditation. It's not the ultimate meditation technique. It's always the meditator, meaning the intentions and the focus of the meditator. In other words, is a person going into this to love God or to find an experience? Most people go in, they're looking for a spiritual experience. In meditation, once you reach a point, you realize, I'm in love with God. If I get nothing out of this experience, self-realization, enlightenment, that doesn't matter. I just want to love God. So when you get to that point, everything just opens up. It's there. You'll find what you're looking for. But as long as you're seeking something, you keep yourself separate from wherever you're seeking. Seeking God. Well, where's God? Well, I'm praying to God. Where's God? You got to pray to Him. That means you're someplace else. Everything's here. Kingdom of God is within. This is the center of the universe. There's nothing outside of you. There's nothing outside of God. God is the source. And to me, it's love. If you want to call God Jesus, or Buddha, Krishna, Muhammad, it doesn't matter. Whatever you focus on, if that brings harmony to your heart, it brings you closer to your divine experience, great, go for it. Whatever path you take is okay. As long as it's a path of love.